Picture a water hole in the Kruger. Middle of the day, heat shimmering off the mud, an impala lowers its head to drink, ears swiveling, doing the math it does 1,000 times a day. Is this safe? Is this safe? Is this safe? Then a speaker hidden in the brush plays a sound. Not a growl, not a roar, not the crack of a rifle, just a person, talking, calm, conversational, the kind of voice you'd use to ask someone to pass the salt. And the impala doesn't hesitate, it doesn't investigate, it runs, faster and farther than it would from a lion. Here's the part that should stop you. This isn't one skittish impala having a bad day. Researchers ran this exact experiment across 21 water holes in Greater Kruger National Park, and the result held for 95% of the mammal species tested. Elephants, leopards, hyenas, warthogs, kudu. Nearly all of them treated a soft-skinned, slow, clawless primate as more dangerous than the actual apex predators they share the landscape with. And it's not just Africa. Badgers in the English countryside do it. Pumas in California do it. White-tailed deer in Georgia do it, twice as likely to flee human speech as the sounds of coyotes, cougars, or wolves. Marsupials in Australia, animals that haven't seen a human hunter in generations, do it too. Whatever this is, it's not local, it's not a fluke, it's baked into something much deeper. Here's the thing nobody tells you about the circle of life. We grow up picturing the food chain as this neat hierarchy, lion at the top, everything else arranged beneath it in descending order of fear, scary teeth up top, nervous herbivores at the bottom. That picture is wrong, or at least it's missing its actual apex. The real number one, the thing every other species on the planet has quietly, biologically decided is the most terrifying creature in existence, is a soft-skinned, slow, clawless primate that doesn't even need to raise its voice. So how does this actually work in an animal's brain? Let's walk through it. An animal hears something, a voice, footsteps, whatever. And that sound doesn't go through some slow, thoughtful evaluation process. It gets fast-tracked. The sensory signal shoots straight to a part of the brain called the amygdala, which is basically the body's alarm system, and it bypasses the slower, more deliberate parts of the brain entirely. No time for, let me think about this, just threat, react. Once that alarm trips, two things happen almost simultaneously. First, a flood of adrenaline hits the system. Heart rate spikes, blood rushes to the muscles, the whole body gets primed to run. Second, a slower hormonal cascade kicks in, ending with a stress hormone, cortisol or its animal world cousin corticosterone, pumping through the bloodstream, keeping the animal on high alert even after the initial jolt fades. Then comes the actual decision. Do I run or do I stay? Scientists have a name for this: economic escape theory. Every time an animal senses a threat, it's running a constant background calculation. How far away is the danger? How much energy will I burn fleeing? How much food am I giving up by leaving? And critically, how likely is this thing to actually kill me? The distance at which an animal finally says, "Okay, that's enough, I'm out," is called the flight initiation distance. And here's the key insight. Because human hunting technology historically worked from a distance, spears, thrown rocks, projectiles, later arrows and guns, animals that kept a bigger safety bubble around humans survived more often than animals that didn't. Over enough generations, that caution gets locked in, not learned, inherited. That's why an elephant that literally has never been hunted by a person in its lifetime still treats a human voice like a five-alarm fire. It's not remembering something that happened to it, it's carrying something that happened to its ancestors. Now here's where it gets complicated, because fear this efficient doesn't come cheap. If this were just one-time jolt of adrenaline, fine, no real cost. But when human presence is frequent, trails, tourism, research stations, farms, that stress response doesn't get to reset. It stays partially switched on. And chronic activation of that system does measurable damage. It suppresses cell growth in the hippocampus, the part of the brain tied to memory and spatial navigation. It messes with the stress hormone system itself, dysregulating it long term. It even suppresses immune function. And it doesn't stop with the individual. Frightened parents raise smaller, weaker offspring, lower birth weights, thinner fat reserves, even shorter telomeres, which are basically the biological marker of accelerated aging. A population living under constant human-shaped fear isn't just jumpy, it's generation over generation less fit to survive. So the fear humans strategy that kept an animal's ancestors alive around sharp objects and thrown rocks is, in the modern world of hiking trails and ecotourism, quietly grinding down the same populations it once protected. Evolution doesn't plan ahead, it just reacts to what worked last time. For a long time, scientists assumed something totally different, that animal fear was mostly about loud, aggressive stimuli, gunshots, barking dogs, engine noise. The logic seemed obvious. Quiet, calm human presence should register as harmless, maybe even neutral. Controlled experiments blew that up. Across multiple studies, calm conversational speech triggered more flight, more panic, more abandoned food than actual gunfire. Volume wasn't the trigger. Aggression wasn't the trigger. The human voice itself, regardless of tone, regardless of intent, reads as lethal. There was a second assumption that also didn't survive contact with the data: the human shield hypothesis. For a while, researchers thought prey animals were deliberately clustering near human infrastructure as a strategic move. Since predators avoid us, maybe smart prey species use us as bodyguards, hide near the campground, dodge the lion. Turns out that's not really what's happening. Systematic reviews found prey species fear humans even more than they fear the actual apex predators they're supposedly hiding from. They're not finding safety near us, they're enduring us, trading one kind of stress for another because the habitat gives them no better option. And a third assumption, that animals in protected areas, places with no hunting for decades, would eventually stop being scared of humans, also collapsed. Marsupials in Australia that haven't faced human hunting pressure in ages still flee humans at more than twice the rate they flee native or introduced carnivores. Protection doesn't erase the fear. The fear isn't really about current risk at all. It's ancient software, still running. So why would evolution build something this specific, this powerful into the nervous system of nearly every large mammal on the planet? Because we earned it. Go back roughly 1.5 to 1.8 million years to a site called Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania. Early Homo, not modern humans, something earlier. Something without sharp claws, without crushing jaws, without any of the physical hardware carnivores rely on. Needed meat, fat, bone marrow, fuel for a brain that was expanding fast and demanding calories to match. They didn't have the body for hunting, so they scavenged, but not by sneaking scraps after the real predators left. Fossil evidence shows stone tool cut marks layered directly over carnivore tooth marks, meaning early hominins moved in on fresh kills while the actual apex predators were still around and pushed them off. Giant hyenas, saber-toothed cats, animals built like tanks, driven off a carcass by a slow, clawless primate armed with thrown rocks, sharpened stone, and numbers. That mattered for more than just calories. A fresh kill left too long in a hot climate turns dangerous fast. Bacteria multiply, toxins build, and eating it can kill you as surely as the predator that made the kill in the first place. Getting there first and getting the carnivores off it fast meant the difference between nutrition and poisoning. And there's a second, even more visceral reason this mattered. Human infants are famously helpless for a famously long time. A mother in labor, a newborn in the dark, those are moments of maximum vulnerability, exactly the moments a nocturnal predator would exploit. Groups that could reliably terrify large carnivores away from camp weren't just winning arguments over carcasses, they were keeping their most vulnerable members alive through the night. Every animal on Earth that still flinches at the sound of a human voice is responding to a reputation we built, one displaced hyena, one defended kill, one protected birth at a time over more than 1 million years. And we're still cashing in on that ancient reputation, just with different tools. Conservationists have started weaponizing this fear on purpose. Speaker systems broadcasting calm human voices positioned near poaching hotspots deter rhinos from wandering into danger. The same trick keeps elephants out of farmers' crops without a single fence or bullet. The exact biological terror that once protected our ancestors' campsites is now, in a strange twist, being redeployed to protect the animals themselves. Meanwhile, every hiker, every wildlife photographer, every well-meaning ecotourist walking quietly through a national park is, without knowing it, triggering the same ancient alarm system in every animal within earshot. Pumas abandon fresh kills, bears clear out, elephants alter their migration patterns to dodge us entirely. We've created what researchers call a landscape of fear, an invisible map of avoidance drawn entirely around the sound of us, existing in places where no one has hunted anything in decades. So go back to that water hole. The impala at the edge of the water, head down, ears up, running its constant calculation of risk versus reward. It hears a human voice, quiet, unarmed, utterly harmless in that exact moment, and it bolts like it just heard a death sentence. Because, evolutionarily speaking, it did. Just not today, not from you, from 1 million years of us.